Welcome to Woodturning 150. This is the first of a series of advanced spindle work that follows after the Woodturning 101 series. In this case, we're going to take you through some of the things that have represented the most significant problems for new turners, using the tools to make beads, mastering the Skew chisel, and we're going to add some other places we did not go in Woodturning 101. We're going to do some more end-grained work. We're going to do multi-axis. We're going to make finials, and we are going to specialize in using these tools until our skills are developed further. There is a handout for this. It's on my website right next to this video, and feel free to download it. And I would like you to subscribe so that you'll see all of the episodes in this. So welcome to Woodturning 150, lesson number 1. So here we are at the lathe. Before we get started, I wanted to substitute our standard 4-prong spur drive for what's called a safe drive. So we don't have prongs to dig in, but we have a circular cut. And so what we'll do is we'll place the piece of wood on this drive, bring up our tailstock in the normal manner, lock it down, and when I turn the lathe on, if I don't have that drive tight, I'll be able to stop and stall the piece of wood. So, more pressure on the tailstock gives higher drive. Why do I want to do this? If I'm working on a tool that I haven't got a lot of familiarity with yet, and there's a possibility of getting some catches, if this digs in, the wood stops moving, nothing flies off the lathe, nothing goes away. So as a result, it's a good, safe way to practice, especially with cuts that you're not familiar with or you've been getting some difficulty. So consider a safe drive instead of a standard 4-prong spur drive. Well, one of the things we want to do before we get started is be sure this is running nice and true. And while it looks pretty good, I'm still going to take my Skew chisel and make a very light planing cut across here. Taking out a little bit of vibration that's there in the other direction. Good practice, and it's going to lead up to a cut we're going to be making in a few minutes. So let's go back and review beads with a shallow fluted gouge. Our standard shallow fluted gouge. I'm going to start saying spindle gouge so I can avoid the tongue twisters. We cut grooves in order to be able to not have that kind of a limitation, because when I come down there I can only go so far because wood on the waist side is in the way. It wasn't a very good bead. Top was a little bit wanky because I wasn't paying attention. So what we do many times is to come in with our parting tool, reach over and find it, and open up on either side, be able to create more room for our practicing and for our beads. Do a couple more. I get the idea. So with my shallow fluted gouge, which I said properly this time, I'm going to start about, not in the center and roll my bead, I'm going to start on the corner and just take a little bit. And a little bit more. Each time I'm going back closer to the center, bringing my tool around farther, and the handle out more. So I finished up like that. The other side, corner. Keep that handle moving away from the bead. So, more practice. Keep doing practice cuts with your shallow fluted gouge. Let's set that down and show you the other version. This is very similar. You can see the difference. The detail gouge on the right has a much finer point, narrower flute, and the angle here is even more sharp. Purpose of which is to allow me to be able to make cuts into smaller and tighter areas. So if you have one of these, practice your beads with it also, because the technique is identical. One side. The other side. Let me show it on the end cut here. Keeping the bevel in touch with the wood all the time as I roll the tool over, bring the handle around, and move the tip inward. Okay. Got to keep practicing that cut with those tools. The new cut we're going to add is working with our skew chisel. Here are two skew chisels. This one is a commercial one with a radiused edge, and I put a little flat on this side right here. The toe side needs to be able to sit square for certain cuts, but the heel side, which we're going to be using rolling our beads, needs to be rounded. Here's another brand. The toe is flat, and by just setting it on the wood or the tool rest, it stands square. The back edge, the heel, has been radiused. I want that. I want to be able to make that rolling cut. So this is what it looks like. It's the same. I'm going to be rubbing the bevel right down in this tip. The moment this whole edge engages, I'm in trouble. So from the left side, that's what the cut looks like. The right side, again, get it flat, right on that corner. Need to practice. So again, the same idea, small corners, bigger cuts, each time turning the tool more, because we're keeping it in touch with the level of the wood, but the wood now is no longer horizontal. By the time I get done with this cut, that wood is going to be totally vertical. Other side. Do little tiny ones first. Now, the biggest problem you can have is getting a catch with this, and let me show you what that looks like. I am actually going to do it intentionally, right here. What happened was the edge got into the wood and started this spiral cut back. So when you see that, that means that you did not keep the edge flat to the surface, rubbing the bevel. Sometimes on the skew chisel we get a cut that looks like this. No, I can't do it. Nope, I can't do it. Sometimes a little divot pops out, and that divot means that we've cut the corner under the fibers. So that looks so bad. Let me make it go away. A little planing across here. Practice your planing cuts because it's half of the bead. Just the corner. Just the corner. Ah, there we got it. What happened here is I did not turn the tool enough. As a result, the edge grabbed right there. So when you see a mark like that that turns into a spiral, it means the tool wasn't flat. The handle was probably raised a little too high, cut was taken a little too low, but it got the edge totally buried into the wood. Easy to clean up. In this case it is. When using the skew chisel to make a cut like this, do not hesitate. When you back off a little bit, that's when the edge comes up, grabs, and does that spiral cut. Another tool to practice with. A lot of practice wood is needed to master these two tools. Go back to my parting tool for a second, because this is a fairly wide one. When you have parting tools that are reasonably wide, sometimes they're called a beading and parting tool, because I can come up here like this, roll that tool over, and make a bead. Different widths, depending on how far you move the tool. But again, roll over. But because it has an edge shape like that, it's going to have a limit of how deep it can go. I'm going to do another one, but before I do that, let me change the wood. That one is used up. Let's try another piece here. This is another piece of poplar. Get it back up between centers. I think we've got it on the point here. Yeah, there it is. Locked. Again, pressure. This is another way to make beads. And this is called a pyramid tool. There are commercial ones. This is one I've made myself. The commercial ones tend to be a little bit more blunt pointed. Creates a shorter edge. I like them at just a little bit longer point. Creates more surface on these three sides. This is 120 degrees between the three, and it's pointed on the edge. A lot of times it's used just for decorative marks, or places where a burning mark could be relayed, but I can use this to make a bead, and it works in a way that you wouldn't imagine. I'm going to go straight in and make the left side, and that establishes how deep it's going to be. Here's the right side. Now, to make the bead, I'm going to go back into this. I'm going to drop the handle and bring the blade around, and what it's going to do is literally from the bottom towards the top. Straight. Other side. It's got to come all the way until it's totally flat. Now, that's a big one, but there's no reason I cannot do something very small the same tool. I don't need clearance on either side because this tool creates its own. To sharpen it, you basically go to the grinder, lay this face on the wheel, rocking it back and forth till you find flat, and stand there and hold it until you see sparks come down both sides. Next face, same. Third face, the same. Beading and parting tool, shallow fluted gouges, a lot of different ways to do it. Last tool I want to show you is what's called a forming tool. And this is for making beads. And if you look at this, you can see the shape that the bead will be. We also can see that the sides on either side of the bead are kept very, very narrow. In the corner of this video, you'll see a picture of another commercial one where these sides are much, much wider. Result is that each bead has to stand in an area devoid of features around it. This tool is used this way. We lay it in, the 2 points touch, and we cut deep by rocking it in. They come in multiple sizes. Here's the smaller one. I'll just show you a quick demonstration of that. There's the two sides where the points have gone in. Now I'm going to simply rock the tool from the right to the left. And if I stop the lathe and look now, I will note, and you may not be able to see it, there's a very slight flat still in the center. That means this hasn't all the way reached the shape. So I'm going to go back in and do it until that curve comes completely around. Makes a nice bead, and by laying it near each other, beads can be laid very close. Rocking the tool. That's pretty hard to do with a standard spindle gouge or skew chisel. If you're able to do it properly, you can end up with effects like this. It's done with exactly that same tool laid out. So, for this video, get yourself a piece of wood, turn it around between centers, lay out, use your shallow fluted gouge, practice. Skew chisel, plane it away, mark off, rotate, and do some more beads. And then ultimately, I would suggest that you buy one of the pyramid tools or make one. This is just a piece of 3/8 drill rod to which I have ground the 3 flats and put a handle on it. Hardening it would be nice, but not absolutely necessary. So, Woodturning 150, part 1 is about practice, just about practice. And in the next lesson, we will actually make a product. But the whole purpose of that one is to do it all with one single tool, and we'll do it with the skew chisel. We'll see you in the next lesson. Thanks for watching.